Some call it the dungeon, some call it the castle. We call it historic Richwoods High School, and today it plays host to yet another great basketball team and a great basketball game between the Richwoods Knights and the Champaign Centennial Chargers. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us on ClutchSportsIL.com for a Big 12 conference battle between the 6-3 Knights and the 2-4 Centennial Chargers. Alongside John Camosa, I am Larry Larson, and as soon as we come into the broadcast, it's time for the national anthem. So we'll take a short break and be right back with the starting lineups and game action after this on ClutchSportsIL.com.
As our very own Terry Cole performs our national anthem. Here he is, Mr. Cole. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Welcome back inside Richwoods High School after a rousing rendition of the national anthem after a ever so slight delay. Wow, it's been quite the game already, John Camosa.
Certainly has, Larry, and we're looking forward to this one. We talked with Richwoods coach William Smith before the game. He says the key to the game is they need to win the rebounding battle. He saw they lost a close game, 68-67 to Manual last night, so I think they're looking to bounce back after dropping 2 straight. This Centennial team's got a lot of size, but we'll see what they can do tonight.
Both these teams coming off losses last night, as John mentioned. Richwoods losing a narrow 1-point contest to Manual, and Champaign Centennial coming off a drubbing against Normal Community. They lost that one 63-32. John, as you mentioned, the rebounding, let's take a look at the keys to the game for both these squads. First for Champaign Centennial, and you see 3 keys there: defense, control the tempo, and fast break it up. We talk about tempo nearly every game we broadcast, but it's especially important for these Chargers.
Certainly is, and 2 players that are going to push that tempo is Ike Donnell and Jameer Winfrey for Richwoods. Coach Smith said they've been averaging close to 23 a game, so that's your 1-2 punch right there, and I think Centennial and Coach Tim Lavin want to come out here and try to contain those guys because they've been a force all year, Larry.
Tim Lavin, of course, in his 20th season with the Chargers, has been really a staple in the Big 12 Conference recently. Took the Chargers to state multiple times in his tenure, and usually they're competitive for regionals. But today they're missing a key piece. We'll get to that in a minute, but first let's look at Richwoods' side of things. And the thing that Coach William Smith emphasized the most was the rebounding.
Yeah, I mean,
over and over.
Over and over. He said that he said, where have you guys struggled? Lost a couple games. I know they got beat by Notre Dame 61-27. You kind of think what happened in that game, and it's not a team that you can go to sleep to on the boards. So same thing with Manuel last night. He says they need to break out of that funk and start rebounding. I think, Larry, if they can control the rebounds today, and as far as Winfrey and Donald get them going, it could be a good game for Richwoods, but Centennial, you know, a little bit of a slide themselves, and I think they want to get back in the win column as well.
I want to take a look at that second key to the game for Richwoods. Quote, be better. Jamari Winfrey, after the loss last night to Manuel, the Peoria Journal-Star's Stan Morris tweeted about how Winfrey scored 18 points, and Coach William Smith said that the team needs to be better with rebounding. Winfrey responded to the tweet and said, we'll be better, I promise.
So we're looking forward to that today.
Should be fun.
Usually, if you say something, you want to go over there and attack it. They're finding a little motivation off that losing the rebounding battle, and sometimes that can light a little fire on. I think we're going to see a good effort out of Richwoods today.
I'm sure we will. They always bring a lot to the table, and John, that's why that loss to Peoria Notre Dame was so surprising, because going into that game, they had good momentum. They lost the first game of the season, bounced back in a big way, won, I want to say, 5 straight games before they really got blown out. I thought that was going to be a good game, but I suppose they came out flat.
Yeah, I think the Big 12, as far as the Peoria schools, you know, we saw earlier in the season Peoria High fall to Notre Dame in a pretty handily game for the Irish, and then right back to last night, you know, Peoria High knocking off Notre Dame, and I think Manuel and Richwoods play some close games. I think it's going to be a type of year in the limited amount of games we have left, of teams kind of leaving it all on the floor and giving it their all. And I expect a good effort out of Richwoods today, and we'll see if they can control the rebounds.
And on that note, let's get you the starting lineups. First, for the Champaign Centennial Chargers, they enter this one with a 2-4 record, all those games coming in the Big 12 Conference. It'll be number 10, DeAndre Warren, 6'1" junior guard. Number 11, Travis Makabu, a 5'8" senior guard. Amarion Parker, number 22, a 6-foot senior guard. David Labey, number 24, a 6'4" senior guard. And to round it out, it'll be Jack Young Jr., a 6'3", 210-pound junior forward. Lots of size on this roster. But Champaign Centennial is missing its best player in Khalil Terry. And talking to Coach Lavin, he's a little concerned with that.
Yeah, and you talk about that size, you know, without Khalil Terry, 6'4", 230, obviously a force in the post. And, you know, you talk about wanting to win the rebounding battle. You'd think Richwoods feels a little bit more relief that he's not in the lineup, but you still have a lot of size out there. You're bringing a lot off your bench as well, Larry. And you know, see with Richwoods, wouldn't say undersized, but a little bit of an advantage for Centennial. See if they can win it with the guard play.
Let's take a look at the starters for the home team, the Richwoods Knights. It'll be Isaiah Donnell, of course, a big name. Jalen Brown, Josh Reynolds, Jamari Winfrey. And who am I missing? Did I read five names? I did not. We'll get that other one here shortly. So Champaign Centennial will start with the basketball as they work it around the perimeter.
David Gaines.
David Gaines. John Camosa with the assist, and Richwoods with the near turnover there. At the left wing, 3 on the way from Warren, and it's down. That's a great start for these Chargers.
Certainly is, and that's something we'll see out of both these teams, Larry. Today, they like to shoot the 3 ball. See Ike Donnell and Winfrey, and they can both get to the basket pretty handily as well, so should be an all-out battle.
They're going to call that a 2. His foot was on the line. Richwoods the response. Backwards pass to Gaines. It's quite the pass. Here's Winfrey for 3. Excuse me, third time's a charm there. And Centennial comes out with the rebound.
And Coach Smith said he really likes what he's seen out of Winfrey this year. He says it's no surprise that he's been doing what he's doing, a 3-year starter, 3-year varsity player, I should say.
Makabu joins the shooting party. Centennial out 5-0 early. Donnell tried to change that, and he couldn't. Chargers another opportunity. The lob pass down low, high off the glass, no good for Jack Young Jr. Now Richwoods is out with it. Reynolds, the no-look pass. 3 on the way from Jalen Brown is off. Lots of shooting early on, not much driving to the basket.
Lots of shooting early on, as you said, and talk about that size with Jack Young. You've seen him down in the post, 2 rebounds already, almost had a putback. So I think Richwoods will want to try to keep him outside and let him shoot it instead of take it up.
Here's Amarion Parker. The senior works it back up top to McAboo. And now to Warren. Chargers are going to take their time here. It's all about controlling the tempo. We mentioned that in the open. And right now the Chargers have played relatively slow. They're going to be patient and wait for their shot.
I think they're just trying to get a feel for the game right now, Larry. Like you said, we haven't seen that up-tempo, playing more of a half court, and there's that size that they just showed.
Jack Young Jr. bodies his man and gives the Chargers a 7-0 lead. Donnell to the right block. It's off. Donnell has taken a few shots early on, but hasn't been able to get one to fall. There's a deep 3 from Warren, and you can count it. 10-0 Chargers. Timeout, Richwoods.
We talked to Tim Lavin before the game, Larry. He said he wanted to break out of this funk that they've been having and get back on track, and gotta like what you see out of these first 3 minutes if you're coach.
Absolutely, and looking at Centennial's schedule so far this year, they've played Manual and they've played PND. Both those were losses for the Chargers, but they played them close, those games within single digits, and whenever you play good teams like Manual and PND close, you know you're close, but they just haven't been able to win a game.
Yeah, sometimes it's just trying to put everything together. You find yourself on the losing side, but there's a lot of things you can pull away from those games, and early on we've seen that they got that size, and clearly they have that range.
We'll see how the Knights respond out of the timeout. Reynolds to the right wing to Brown. And Brown will slow it down. Nice crossover into the paint, bounce pass down low to Welch, and a jump ball is called.
Welch, a nice addition off the bench, 6'5". Richwoods has a little bit of size of their own. Right now, it's just a little hard to get inside on Centennial, but
Centennial's defense has been stout, and that shouldn't come as any surprise. We'll get our mask timeout here as we're under 5 minutes, but in talking with Coach Lavin, it's pretty much all he talked about was defense. We defended well, we just didn't score, but today the defense has got to be good. He said that a few times, and so it's shown early on.
I think a lot of coaches will preach that defense wins games, obviously, and like you said, Centennial is showing that early. I think Richwoods wants to kind of find their defense right at the moment. Get back into the scoring column, I should say, after being held scoreless here for the opening 4 minutes.
That's something that we saw earlier today in Clutch Sports Media's first game. We saw Metamora defeat Washington handily in girls basketball, and they started the game with a 21-0 run. Highly impressive there, and when you start the game with a double-digit run like that, what does that do to the opponent?
I would say just kind of sucks all the wind right out of your sails. It's hard to bounce back from being down that much. You still got 2 quarters to play, but anytime you get in a hole against a team like that, it's hard to dig yourself out of that.
Well, you'd certainly hope, at least for Richwoods, that they can get on the board here. Brown trapped in the corner, stifling defense, and that one's going to be out off of Jack Young Jr.
Centennial showing that pressure early on. Almost forcing that turnover in the corner, trapping him.
Donnell, the pass a little bit too high, but hauled in by Winfrey. Ike Donnell has really picked up his scoring lately. Kicks out. Brown's going to try the tray. Halfway down and out. Rebound and put back in by Jeremiah Welch. And the Knights are on the board.
Really nice heads-up play there by Welch coming off the bench. A good finish.
Marion Parker sets it up. Lobs it into Jack Young Jr. Back to Parker. Back out. McAboo, the step back. Can't get the touch off the rim, but who is there? Jack Young Jr. and the putback by McAboo. Again, Richwoods with the rebounding.
Yeah, Larry, I mean, we talked before the game, or even right as the game started, about Coach William Smith wanting to control the rebounds, and Jack Young's already got 5 or 6. He's really shown his dominance down there. Even if he's not finishing, he's disrupting a play.
If you're Coach Lavin, you got to be pleased with that. showing off the size a little bit. We talked to him about that size he's got on his roster. He said a few guys are out, but right now that size is really showing.
Certainly is.
Got a brief delay in play. Looking for a towel of sorts, I think, to wipe up the floor. I think that's what the timeout is about. Perspiration delay, perhaps.
Yeah, because you can see they're using their shoes to try to. Well, I mean, we don't want to speculate, but that's my most educated guess.
Who knows?
Yep,
Looks like we got a towel.
You would think there's a towel sitting there, but it took them a little bit to find one.
Yes. Assistant coach coming out with a hustle.
We'll give him a
now
shot.
We're getting it cleaned up. You see the officials discussing with William Smith. I think William Smith's not happy about that charge call, and neither was Donnell.
Give him a shout out while he's on the court. That's Patrick Hogan, Richwoods golf coach. Going to wipe up the floor.
He heads back to the sideline, and we are back underway. Labey inbounds it to Parker. The Chargers working with a 10-point lead. Donnell on him, almost poked it loose. He gets right to the rack and he's fouled. You see Reynolds was looking for the charge there. Got a charge on one end but not on the other end. It's going to be foul on the shot. So Parker will shoot 2.
And early on, Larry, we've seen Centennial doing a really good job of getting inside, forcing Richwoods to foul there. But I think this, if you're Coach Tim Lavin, you want to see your team attack the basket like they are, and they're knocking in the threes as well.
So far, it's been predominantly deep shots for both sides, whether those are beyond the arc or just within. Parker's second free throw is down. Centennial by 11 now. Donnell to Reynolds, back to Donnell. He's going to drive baseline. You see the explosiveness. Work to Brown, well short. Rebound into the hands of Winfrey and put back, or excuse me, that's Welsh. And Welsh has all 4 points for Richwoods.
Welsh doing a really good job right off the bench to spark Richwoods with 4. They're going to need that. They're going to need a lot of that, those rebounds and putbacks.
Young is fouled. Lots of fouls, lots of rebounds, and they're all going Centennial's way.
Something that Coach Smith touched on. Don't want this to happen, and early on they're going to have to make an adjustment. Otherwise, Centennial's going to have the upper hand on the boards tonight.
Fouls on Welsh. First free throw is too strong by Young. Young standing at 6'3", plays a little bigger than his 6'3" frame. Really with a lot of size as he snaps down the second.
You said that, Larry, and without Kaleno Terry, he's 230, and I wonder how big he is compared to Jack Young.
Reynolds open for 3. A little too strong. McAboo in transition to the bucket, blocked by Winfrey, but he stepped on the baseline. That could provide a spark for Richwoods, John, to get a play like a come-from-behind block, a clean block at that.
Certainly can, and anytime you can turn it up a little bit on the defensive end, I think that's going to help translate to points. They're just hoping to convert off some of these misses and not fall in a hole here.
Winfrey inside, he's blocked by Labey. Now it's Labey in transition, the bounce pass and the finger roll for Parker.
Talk about that up-tempo. We're starting to see a little bit of transition out of Centennial just now. When they can get running, they can be a good team.
Donnell is off. He's still not on the scoreboard, and he's taken a lot of shots. Nobody else has been hot for Richwoods either. Winfrey, who scored 18 points last night, or Donnell, who scored 29 versus Manual.
Yeah, great game from him last night. Just came up short against the Rams, but hoping to see something like that similar tonight if he can get going on the offensive end.
Richwoods squanders an opportunity in transition. McAboo is called for the charge. Good play by Reynolds to get in position. So that'll give the Knights another possession as you see some subs Jalen Bryson, the 6'9" senior center. You want to talk about size? Well, there it is.
Yeah.
We'll see what he can provide.
And Welch, your only scorer right now with 4. He's got a 6'9" guy on.
See if Richwoods continues to stay around the perimeter. Donnell drives baseline. Denied at the rack, but it's a foul on Bryson.
Good take there, and I think if you're Coach Smith, you want to see a lot more of that, getting to the basket and drawing contact right there. Take your points at the free throw line, whatever you can get right now to open this first quarter.
Donnell has still stayed off the scoreboard, but getting to the free throw line is a good way to snap out of a shooting funk, but he misses the first.
Number 11, Michael Womer.
Michael Womer is in the game for Richwoods as Brown heads to the bench. Donnell's second is down. Sometimes it just takes one. We'll see if he heats up.
Trying to find that stroke, like you said. Finding it at the free throw line can help spark it in other aspects of the game, but if you're Richwoods, you want to try to gain a little bit of momentum here.
There's a clean block, but a foul is called. Perhaps a little too much bodily contact, but looked like Welch got all ball as Leby will go to the line.
Looked like a clean block, but
not much has gone Richwoods' way. Leby's first free throw is off. He'll get one more. Spins the ball and puts it up, and that's short. Rebound goes to Welch over the 6'9" Bryson.
Richwoods hoping to take advantage off those 2 misses and capitalize here. Try to get something going to give yourself some confidence.
Donnell to Reynolds, he's gonna drive, he's got baseline, and he's blocked by Leby. The putback rolls around from Welch, and he has done almost everything for Richwoods so far. He's got 6 of the team's 7 points.
And that's coming right off the bench, Larry. They're keeping him in this game a little bit, but if you're Richwoods, you want to get your starter some production.
Somebody's got to get going other than him. Warren to the rack, blocked by Welch, and a foul. It's going to be a charge. So there's some momentum, but now can Richwoods capitalize? I feel like we've said that a number of times here in the first quarter.
I think if you could find a 3 or just cut it to 6 or just find a layup, but expect Welch to be a presence down low too. He's doing a good job even on the 6'9" Jalen Bryson.
Donnell, the bounce pass to the open Welch. He's got 2 more. Nice assist from Donnell, and that's another thing. Another way to break out of a slump is start distributing.
Find the hot hand, and there's only one out there right now, but he's keeping you right in the game.
Richwoods' bench comes to life as Centennial will hold for the final shot of the quarter. Parker losing his balance inside. Kicked out, it's D. Warren from deep is off. And that's all she wrote for the first quarter. It's Centennial 16, Richwoods 9.
I mean, the one thing we could take away from that quarter, Larry, is that Welch definitely helped provide that spark right off the bench. 8 of the 9, right? And keeping Richwoods in this game, but Centennial, like Tim Lavin's got to like what he sees out of his group so far. Obviously, you wanted to convert on a couple free throws and had a couple mishaps down low, but good start for Centennial.
If they did knock down those free throws, John Camosa, they could probably still have right around a double-digit lead.
Certainly could, and we talked so much about that size, and they've disrupted a lot of shots outside of just Welch, but getting hands on balls, some blocks, but we'll see if Richwoods attacks more here in the second quarter to try to get something going a little bit.
In case you're just joining us, Centennial opened the game with a 10-0 run. They've led since. The Knights have since woken up a little bit, led by 8 points from Jeremiah Welch, the 6'5" junior forward. And DeAndre Warren leads the Chargers with 5 points. Be Centennial basketball with Conley D to inbound as the The buzzer goes off as play is underway.
Javon Brewer, new face for the Knights out here.
Pull-up jumper from Warren, and John, he looks dialed.
Yeah, he certainly does, Larry. And there's Donald, chance to get back to the line again.
We'll see if he can make 2 of them this time, but man, Warren's jumper.
It's smooth.
It's not even just from mid-range. We saw it from way downtown to start the game. It's proved to be a big difference maker early on. Ike Donnell's first free throw is down.
Like you said, try to gain some of that confidence at the line. Feel smooth with your stroke when you can knock them down, and hopefully you can start getting that going on the floor as well. But I think they'll take anything they can get right now.
Yes, points are points. Get back into this one. And Donnell knocks down the second. All 3 of his points have come at the free throw line. Parker walks it up, guarded by Carlos Beck.
Expect Richwoods seem like they're playing pretty aggressive D here, trying to turn it up on the defensive end, force some turnovers.
Here's Warren again. You bet.
Larry, and like you said, dialed in is an understatement.
Warren is up to 10 points. 10 points for number 10 in Navy.
Good pass there, but
Wolmer's the sharpshooter, and he's been face guarded anytime he has the basketball. Brewer over to Donnell, and he's going to wave around some traffic. Back to Brewer.
They don't want to give Donald too much room either. Open off, and
there's the hot hand, off balance shot, no. Rebound doesn't go back into the hands of Welsh. Welsh hustles down the floor. He saw that pass coming. He's able to force the turnover. Heads up defense by Welsh. Donnell in transition. Finds the open Womer. He's going to shoot it off the dribble, and it's short. How about the effort from Welsh? The dive a little bit too late on that one, but the effort is there no less.
Wild sequence there. Almost a football throw over there to Jack Young, and almost had to fall out of bounds just to try to save it. Richwood's trying to capitalize on that turnover, but can't get the shot to fall.
Laby will trigger it in, just in front of the Centennial bench. We get another perspiration delay, this time at the other end of the floor.
In an up-tempo game like this, you'd expect.
Yeah, exactly. You need one of those moppers out, you know, to wipe off the sweat. I know they do that at Bradley games. Ball is inbounded to Parker as we're back underway. Carlos Beck is on him. Not anymore as Parker gets to the rack but can't capitalize. Winfrey with the board. Reynolds with it now. Worked around the perimeter. Beck's 3 is in.
Got to feel good that they finally knock one in from behind the arc. And I think Larry talked a lot about the rebounding battle, and it's got to feel good getting rebounds off these missed shots for Centennial.
Great sequence there for Richwoods as you hear the energy inside the building. John, that's one thing that you commented on earlier. There's a lot of energy in here right now. Only some home fans on our side of the gym. But you can tell the energy is there, especially considering it's senior day for Isaiah Donnell, as well as David Gaines for Richwoods.
Certainly has had some music on before the game, and you got the cheerleaders here, the Richwoods cheerleaders on the sideline. Almost gives you a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah, ever so slightly. Here's Javon Brewer. Now to Reynolds, back to Brewer. They feed inside. Winfrey is denied.
Wow.
That's a big block.
Centennial using that size that Coach Tim Laffin talked so much about.
Parker tried to sling it to Laby. And Richwoods gets it back.
Yeah, despite looking like Centennial is hot out the gate, Richwoods right in this game, Larry. It's
Three from Brown is in, and all of a sudden the shots are starting to fall.
Got to feel good knocking down those threes. Richwoods prides themselves on that. And 2 consecutive.
And a defensive stop.
A score here would give Richwoods that momentum right back.
And it's wise for Tim Lavin to take a full timeout here.
Certainly is. You want to regroup and, kind of adjust. I think they got a little bit ahead of themselves there. Richwoods took advantage of some of those mishaps and converted on the other end.
Now, a veteran coach like Lavin, he knows when to take a timeout, and I think he could sense the momentum in this gym starting to favor Richwoods. And they're going to get another timeout at the next stoppage under 5 minutes. So that really takes the wind out of Richwood's sails. How do you sort of keep with that momentum if you're the Knights?
It's tough anytime you get it rolling and there's a delay, any type of stoppage or, like you said, a timeout. But I think you want to stay the course, just keep playing the pace of the game you're playing it. I think Richwoods is doing a good job pushing it in transition, but also playing a half-court game. And if you're Centennial, seeing a lot of, basket underneath that just haven't fell. If you're Richwoods, just keep trying to attack the basket. Even going to the free throw line is their friend right now.
It has been, and they've started to pour in the threes as well, so things starting to click for head coach William Smith's squad. Hear a recording of the band, it sounds like, so Knights really trying to create some sort of atmosphere in here. Reynolds at the perimeter, crosses over, goes into the paint, finds an open Winfrey, who cashes in his first 2 points.
Really nice dish there from Reynolds. A good finish for Winfrey. And we've seen a lot of those buckets down low between Winfrey and Welch. They're going to use their size as well to get to the basket.
Warren gets to the basket and turns it over. Here are the Knights. Another hook shot, that one doesn't go. A big time collision. Beck has it, finds Brown, and he draws the foul. Now the pace is starting to pick up, John, and this is how Richwoods likes to play.
Yeah, and if Richwoods can turn something on here, they could be going into the halftime with a lead. You never count them out of a game, especially when they get going.
Big 12 boys basketball battle. Richwoods at 6-3, Centennial at 2-4. Brown takes a deep breath and gets the shooter's touch on the first free throw.
Just like that, we have a 2-point game. I think we were just kind of patiently waiting to see this Richwoods team that we've traveled out to see, because we know they're capable to play this type of game.
Really, honestly, depends on what type of Richwoods team you get. And I think head coach William Smith would tell you the same thing. Took them a minute to get warmed up today, but now they're playing to their full potential.
We knew coming in, and this game had a feeling to be close. Centennial showed it early, but Richwoods stole that momentum right back.
Reynolds, the hesitation move up and under, and the tip in from Winfrey. He's heating up. All tied up at 21.
2 really nice takes inside from Winfrey. That one coming off a miss from Reynolds. The last one coming off an assist. And just like that, we've seen a lot of turnovers here from Centennial.
Brewer swatted away by Warren. He's having none of that, but no less. Richwoods gets it back, and now Ike Donnell comes back in.
Larry, I think Coach Tim Lavin touched on that a little bit when we chatted with him before the game and said, limit those turnovers. And right now, in this first half, they're haunting them a little bit.
That will bring us to a masked timeout. And that came a little bit later than we thought, John. And as we see on the scoreboard, all tied at 21, that played to the Knights' advantage.
It certainly did. And see if Richwoods has this momentum, if they can continue what they're doing and try to take a comfortable lead or keep it close before halftime. But I think the Knights would want to take a lead going into halftime here.
Absolutely, and the way things are moving right now, I think they will be able to if they keep playing like this. And first, Winfrey started to heat up after Welsh really carried the team in the first quarter. He's got 8 points, hasn't scored here in this quarter if I'm not mistaken. Winfrey's started to pick up a few buckets. But, looking at the rest of the team, you've still got Donnell, who hasn't really heated up. Brown, who's starting to heat up a little bit. Reynolds hasn't scored yet. So you figure if those guys start chipping in a few points here and there, then the Knights are firing on all cylinders.
Oh, yeah. And then they'll definitely be clicking, but they're trying to get a feel of what's changed from Centennial. It seemed like they were taking really good care of the ball to start. Now a little lackadaisical, turning the ball over quite a bit. Richwoods doing a good job on the defensive end to, disrupt some of those passes, but looks to be in Richwoods' favor at the moment.
Donnell the lob to Winfrey, and it was swatted away. That play certainly went wrong. How do the Chargers respond? Can they capitalize? Parker guarded by Beck. Into the post for Bryson. Here's McAboo. Explosive on the dribble. Finds an open Bryson. Was trying to pass it backwards to Lacey. Here come the Knights once more. 3 on the way from Brown. He got it. And the Knights have their first lead of the afternoon.
Huge 3 there from Brown. Richwoods sitting in the driver's seat right now. See if Centennial can respond, but Larry, the Knights have looked really good in these last couple stretch of minutes.
And you see their sideline getting fired up. Big block there, and a charge is called.
Ike Donald with the block just to make sure, but it went to the Knights regardless.
For a good measure, and now they're going to have to run into the office and get another towel to clean up the mess, I think. Or somebody's mask broke, I think is the problem here. It looks like DeAndre Warren heads to the bench as he broke his mask, and looks like Richwoods snagged another one for him. But, John, one thing on that defensive possession and charge, the Richwoods bench was so fired up, not just the players, but the coaches.
Oh, yeah. And, to start the game, they fell behind 10-0, and now you can feel that energy. Richwoods has it back. Everybody's talking. The coaches are fired up, and we can feel that in this gym.
Despite that, Richwoods just up by 3. Feels like they've had the lead for a while, but they really haven't. Nice inside look for Reynolds. His try is off, and a foul is called on the rebound. A few players got a little too tied up. Marquise Todd was in there, and he's going to pick up the foul.
And Larry, to touch on your point of why so fired up to only be up 3, I think it's after you started in that hole being down that much to open the game, not what you would expect. To finally have this lead back, now we find some momentum.
Listen to that bench. 3 on the way for McAboo, not even close. Board still loose, and Donnell comes out with it. He's in transition, and the shot is up. And you got to watch out there. Winfrey was almost about to land on McAboo, who's on the floor. And it's going to be a charge on Donnell.
And we've seen this a couple times now, a couple charges on both ends of the court. And we talked about that high-speed, up-tempo basketball. When you see them get going, there's really no stopping them.
And so often we've seen Donnell get the ball in transition and jet out in front, but today he just has not been able to get all the way to the basket because Centennial's done such a good job of just putting bodies in the way.
And they know that on the scouting report. Obviously, he's a player to watch. They're doing a good job of helping off on him. But you got key pieces that are scoring outside of Donnell, which is what you would need in a team basketball game.
Timeout taken by Centennial as Parker was in trouble, only guarded by one person, and the Richwoods bench loves it. The defense is there for Richwoods now, but now it comes down to scoring.
It certainly does, and we talked so many times about rebounds, and it seems like Richwoods is kind of finding their own on the rebounding battle now, and we'll see if Centennial can make an adjustment here in these next 2 minutes. Try to put something together.
If there's either one of these two teams that needs halftime, it's the Chargers. Tim Lavin, an experienced coach, I'm sure he'll have plenty of adjustments at the half for his team, but like you mentioned a few minutes ago, John, I'm not entirely sure what's happened for Centennial. They played very well in the first quarter, started the game with a 10-0 run, and things have disintegrated a little bit here in the second quarter.
It certainly has, and no, I will touch on, being an away game for Centennial and not having any fans regardless of COVID. It's just their JV team. You get Richwoods, you hear this crowd noise and you hear the energy from the cheerleaders, the parents, the coaches. Where does Centennial kind of find, their noise. You got to have a little something on the bench going because you start to find yourself in a hole.
Quite the inbounds play there as the lob from the far sideline went up to Laby, and it was off the backboard. Laby couldn't catch up and then fouled back, and the Knights are in the bonus.
And if you're a coach coming out of a timeout and going over a game plan, it's not what you want to see.
No, absolutely not. I'm sure that's not what Coach Lavin drew up in the huddle, but who knows? Maybe it was. That would have given him a spark, that's for sure. Beck's free throw is off, and the rebound comes down to the Chargers. D hauled it in. Now it's Parker across the timeline as the Richwoods bench gets going again. Parker to the rack and in.
Parker doing a good job of creating his own shot there, kind of bullies his way in the post. We've seen more of a low post battle between both teams.
Brown from the corner, that's his spot. That's off. He's chasing down the rebound, and he gets undercut by Parker, who is on the floor diving for the rebound. And that foul will be on Parker. So it stays with Richwoods.
And Larry, what you would expect out of a Big 12 basketball game. We've definitely seen some physicality.
Oh, yeah. Banging bodies all afternoon long. Donnell, the shake and bake.
And that's what Donnell prides himself on, getting to the bucket. Feels good to finally get out of that little funk, and a nice drive and take there.
Parker hounded on defense in the double team. Finds the open man. It's D into the paint. And it's a charge.
Another really good job of Richwoods getting set. If you're a coach, you'd love to see that. Your players hitting the deck, taking a charge. And
how many combined charges have there been in this game,
We've seen a lot.
John?
It's been back and forth, but we've seen Richwoods forcing a lot of turnovers here. I think that's going to bode really well for them going into halftime, especially if they can keep this up in the third quarter.
100%. You talk about physicality and banging bodies, but it's not without reward.
Certainly, and anytime you can get a defensive stop and go convert on the other end, you got to love that.
Brown with a full head of steam to Beck in the corner, back up top to Reynolds, and we're under a minute to play in the first half. Momentum started with Centennial, and now the Knights have it. Brown, step back, is short. Rebound loose, more bodies on the floor. A great rebound by Bryson. Here come the Chargers, and it's a transition 2 for McAboo.
That was a tough shot there in that last play for Brown, trying to get it over the 6'9" Bryson. Centennial getting in transition to cut it to a 1-point game.
McAboo up to 10 points in the first half. Him and Warren got going early.
I think it's safe to say Richwoods will try to play for the last shot here and see if they can extend this lead going into halftime.
Ike Donnell is with it. Gets the screen into the paint. Euro steps his way, and he's called for the charge.
Added to our charge kicker.
Should have kept track of those at the start of the game. But physical basketball games are always so much fun to watch, and this one has been no exception. Both teams really hustling. Both teams in the bonus with 5 seconds left in the first half. That doesn't matter a whole ton. But Donnell goes to the bench. I want to say he's got 2 fouls. So he's got to be careful in the second half. Parker to half court, 2 seconds. The heave at the horn goes halfway down and out. And the Knights hang on to a 1-point lead at the break.
Wow, and you couldn't get any closer. Kind of an off-balance 3, but just rolls around the rim. Richwoods escapes this first half with a lead, but this is what you would want after falling behind 10-0 early.
We talked about it so much in that first half. A lot of energy in this building. The home crowd is certainly helping out the Knights, and their bench has just been so energetic, and you see the teams go to the locker room. I think Richwoods definitely has a little more energy right now, and if you're Centennial, you got to lock back in at halftime. You can't be dejected.
No, not at all. And if you're Coach Tim Lavin, I think he's been here for 20 seasons. I think he's got something good written up for his team and a good game plan going into the second half. And if you're Coach William Smith, he talked about rebounds, he talked about defense, and they're certainly showing that right now.
We will take a short break for halftime on ClutchSportsIL.com. Thanks for joining us for Big 12 boys basketball. It's Richwoods 26, Champaign Centennial 25 at the half. We'll be right back. Welcome back inside Richwoods High School. It's Big 12 boys basketball on ClutchSportsIL.com. We had a closely contested first half with Richwoods up by 1 on Champaign Centennial. Richwoods enters this one with a 6-3 record. They've lost their last 2 games, and Centennial comes into this one at 2-4. But John Camosa, we've been talking at halftime. Joey Wright has led the investigation here, so to speak. He believes, and we have reason to believe, that the score on the scoreboard is off. And the officials at the scorer's table missed a made free throw for Richwoods just after the end of the first quarter, into the second quarter. A player went to the line for Richwoods when the Knights had 9 points. The player made 2 free throws. We added those 2 points to our but we have reason to believe they could be ahead by 2 in already. Around to Donnell, and he tries to drive baseline, spins around his man, can't get through the contact, and a foul is called. So the second half starts how the first half left off, physical, and with a foul. No surprise there, John.
No, not at all, and Donnell a chance to go back to the line where he's been pretty productive today.
Donnell knocks in the first.
Doing a good job of getting to the basket and drawing contact.
That's one thing. He's had a tough game. Hasn't made a lot from the floor, but he's found a way. That's what you got to do. Good players find a way to contribute points. He scored 29 in a 1-point loss versus Manual last night. And today he's got 6 points. All coming at the free throw line, if I'm not mistaken. Parker drove to the bucket there and is slow to get up. Took a lot of contact there, but 1 possession for each side, and both end in free throws.
Centennial's going to want to get back into this game. Like we said, they had the momentum early on, and they've just been playing from behind so far.
Marion Parker's first free throw is down. Chargers had the momentum for the first quarter. Opened with a 10-0 run, and since then, Richwoods come storming back. The home crowd has been behind them. And Parker goes 2 for 2 with a stripe to cut the lead back to 1. Depending on who you ask, I suppose.
Which might be 2.
Here's Donnell to Winfrey, weaving through traffic with a sweet hook.
Seen plenty of those this afternoon, Larry, as Winfrey finishes again inside. It's a good job of asserting his body down there and finishing.
Winfrey has had a breakout year. The 2 rolls in off the bank and the rim from Jack Young. Young had a nice first quarter, has been quiet since. He's got 5 points. But in talking with Richwoods head coach William Smith about Jamari Winfrey, he said this is the Jamari Winfrey that we expected. He's been a 3-year guy for us, and he's played up to those expectations. But on the other end, Young scores 2 straight buckets, and he's got 7.
Set a slow first quarter for Young, and
Donnell gets 2.
Young's picked it back up a little bit here in the third quarter. And Donnell and Winfrey, on paper, your 2 best guys, showing why here early on.
Perhaps they needed the halftime break. Winfrey started to warm up at the end of that first half, but now he's really going. How about Young trying to take over the game inside, and that's 3 straight buckets for him.
Hot out of the gate right now for Young. Shades of the first quarter Jack Young we've seen.
Last night, John, I was at the Bradley-Drake game rather than our coverage of Peoria Notre Dame Peoria High. And Darnell Brody, the center for Drake, really took over the game at the end of the first half, and that's kind of what Jack Young Jr. is doing right now. Nobody could stop him. They kept feeding him the ball. They kept beating the hot hand. And Jack Young Jr. is that guy for the Chargers. Eventually it led to a victory for Drake, and a big one at that. We'll see what it does for Centennial. They're up by 1.
They're using that size. Tim Lavin talked about how much they got. And Jack Young without Colino Terry out there is kind of filling that void, playing a big body down there.
Richwoods gets the basketball back on the offensive foul. Foul is on Warren, his 4th. So Warren has had a tough night, and we likely will not see him until the 4th quarter. Donnell slows it down. Richwoods going into the half-court set, not something you see a lot from them. Brown through traffic, can't get that to go. Offensive board still loose. Welch fought for it on the ground, and it's going to go the other way.
Knocked out of bounds, the ball goes Centennial.
Looked like Welch had it in his hands, and the ball touched the baseline above his head.
Still seeing that physicality early here in the 3rd quarter.
It's going to be a war of a second half. And who else but Jack Young Jr.? He's got 11 now.
But Larry, what's the answer right now for Young? He's kind of doing anything he wants at the moment.
Donnell knocks it down from 15, and now he's heating up.
I think Richwoods wants to get him going.
Rhythm 3 from D is off. Young Jr. was there. Now it's back out to Amarion Parker. McAboo back to Parker at the left block, spins through traffic. How about that acrobatic layup?
And their last 4 buckets have been right underneath the basket, you know, playing like bigs as they are. And Richwoods has had an answer for a couple of their baskets, but you don't want to fall in that hole where you're just letting Centennial score at will.
Young swings it out. McAboo, good ball movement. And the putback is in for Laby after he switched hands midair in that first shot.
Tim Lavin must have said something to get him sparked at
halftime,
because Centennial's looking like they were to start the game.
Brown finally comes up with an answer for the Knights. They're down by 3 now after they led at the half, 26-25. Reynolds guards Parker. The Chargers go into a half-court set. Double team now. They get through the trap. And McAboo scans inside, finds Young. Passes out of it. Young from the baseline, short.
And I think it's going to be crucial for Young and McAboo and Warren to try to take over because, or I should say to take over for Warren being on the bench with 4 fouls. You're finding a little bit of that productivity from other guys as Warren's been a key piece this whole game.
And what do you know, another charge called on Donnell, and that's going to be his 4th. So a lot of foul trouble for both sides, and that brings us to our masked timeout. Under 3 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. And John, I think this 3rd quarter has kind of been the epitome of the entire game. Physical, lots of fouls, good offense on both sides, and the momentum swinging back and forth. You know, I think halftime was a little detrimental to Richwoods because they were starting to look a little bit dominant at the end of the 2nd quarter.
I agree, and it's kind of hard to have that momentum going and then sit there because you know as well as I do, playing sports, you take that break and it's hard to get back into it. And I think Richwoods needs to try to find some rhythm and close out this 3rd quarter because right now Centennial looks pretty hot out of the gate here.
They're going to have to do it without Ike Donnell, who's going to be on the bench with 4 fouls. So it'll be Reynolds, Winfrey, Beck, Brown, and Welsh for the Knights. And it'll be Parker, Bryson, D, Macaboo and Leby. Chargers ball out of the timeout. Here's Amarion Parker. Nice behind the back move. Slows it down. Feeds the big man in the high post. Parker trying to go to work. Back out. The drive by D. Lost the basketball, gets it back. Finds an open Leby in the corner. Erratic shot up. And the reverse putback by the 6'9" Bryson.
And Bryson using that size, and I think you're happy if you're William Smith there, having that ball in your hands, getting it right knocked out to leading to a basket. Try to get something back here.
Winfrey in traffic, and he traveled. Now things are starting to fall apart a little bit for Richwoods. Obviously, a whole other quarter to play after these 2 minutes and 18 seconds. So time to gather your footing, but the Chargers have all the momentum once more.
Trying to see what was said down there.
I didn't catch it.
Nope.
And a steal by Richwoods. Winfrey's running it with Beck. Beck takes it all the way and lays it in for 2.
You can hear that crowd noise start to come to life again, and I think that's going to bode well for Richwoods. Try to find a spark here.
Crowd and the bench noise. Knights down by 3 now. Leby working on Winfrey. Parker into the post for Bryson. The hook shot is off. Put back no by Macaboo. Rebound still loose. Here's Bryson. And he was looking for Leby, and Leby is frustrated.
And you can tell how the Knights have fed off this energy, and right now we're hearing that a lot more than we did in these opening 6 minutes. So I think this is going to play to Richwoods' advantage to see if they can get something going in the third quarter.
Reynolds will set the table. Brown now to Welsh. Shut down in the post. The bounce pass nearly goes past half court. Now it's to Reynolds in the corner. He drives baseline, and the ball is tipped away from him, and it's going to be out off of Reynolds. So that takes some wind out of the Knights' sails, but no less. Things are slowing down for the Chargers as Womer checks in and Brown checks out.
Another costly turnover for the Knights, just off a little mishaps, but I'm sure William Smith wants them to clean this up, especially in the fourth quarter. Turnovers are crucial to eliminate.
Listen to the Richwoods bench come to life. Macaboo works around a screen, kicks it back out for Leby. And a timeout's taken by Tim Lavin and Centennial as William Smith claps his hands, and I believe that's an assistant coach, or I'm not sure which coach that is, but lots of energy on the Richwoods bench is my point. Coaches are even more fired up than the players.
I agree, and if Richwoods can get right within 1 or potentially tie the game, or let's say take the lead going into the fourth quarter, you know you're going to see Ike Dutnell there in the fourth, and he's a competitor and could bode very well for Richwoods if he can get something going.
One of the storylines in this one has been foul trouble. Ike Dutnell has 4 fouls. He's on the bench. DeAndre Warren, a starter for Centennial, is on the bench with 4. Lots of contact in the first half and now in the second half. So many charges called. In case you're just joining us, Centennial started with the momentum, a 10-0 run. They held the 16-9 lead after 1 quarter. Richwoods roared back, outscoring the Chargers by a wide margin in the second quarter. Went to halftime with the lead, with a 1-point lead. So it was narrow, and since then it's really been back and forth.
It has been back and forth, and we've seen on both ends lots of turnovers, lots of charges, lots of rebounds, and some fouls.
It's been a fun basketball game to watch. Got a whole nother quarter after this. Parker looking for room. Finds Macaboo. Feeds into the post for Bryson. Goes up over Welsh. And now a jump ball's called on the rebound. Got to be careful there. Things started to get chippy. 2 players tied up. It looked like Welsh and Macaboo. Now the officials are going to get in there and defuse the situation.
What you would expect in a physical game like this, almost could have been an altercation. You'd certainly hope that's not the case. And Russ did a good job of stepping in to kind of break that up.
Cooler heads prevail. The lob goes up to Bryson, and it's off. Rebound still loose. Bodies hit the deck once again. Winfrey had it. Now he doesn't. Into the hands of D and the Chargers. Fed into the post for Bryson. Passes out of the double team. The floater by Labey is off. The tip is good by Bryson.
And that's so hard to defend, Larry. 6'9" with that type of reach down there. We've seen 2 baskets. He just kind of tips him in, and I don't think you really have an answer for that.
No. You just need a guy who's 6'9", and Richwoods does not. Jumper is short by Winfrey at the stripe. 5 seconds for Labey. He's across half court. He's going to pull up from just in front of the timeline. And the third quarter comes to a close, and we head to the fourth in a heated battle with the Chargers up 43-38.
Certainly been a back and forth game between both sides. Seen a lot of bodies hit the floor, and who wants this one more? It should be an exciting 8 minutes.
Well, it's safe to say both teams want it, and they've certainly played like it. Larry Larson alongside John Camosa, Joey Wright, and John Michael at the controls. Matt Harrington on socials, roaming the sidelines for us with the photo camera. Whole Clutch Sports media crew out today, second game of a doubleheader. Thanks for joining us for both games on ClutchSportsIL.com. Another full slate of basketball coming your way next week. We'll have our schedule announced here soon on our social media pages, so stay tuned to those at ClutchSportsIL on Twitter predominantly, at Clutch Sports Media on Instagram, at ClutchSportsIL on Facebook.
About to start our last quarter of night basketball.
John, what are you looking for in this fourth quarter? Quite the opposite.
I think we're going to see a lot of that physicality still. Like I said, both teams are going to want to come out with a win today. Both teams are looking to bounce back after suffering some losses these last 2 games. So try to see if Richwoods can get something going. I think Donnell will come off the bench here as the minutes wind down just a little bit, but try to see if Centennial can keep their foot on the gas or if Richwoods can take the momentum back.
And largely, I want to say both squads have done a good job despite the foul trouble. Both have run into a little bit of it. You know, replacing the scoring that's on the bench. The Knights have been able to do so pretty effectively, but you want your best scorer. And that's either Donnell or Winfrey for the Knights. You want them in down the stretch. And
I think the key right now for the Knights is try to keep Centennial out of the post, which is a tall task as Bryson holds the ball right now, 6'9" forward.
Back to D through traffic, somehow got the shot up. Who else but Bryson for the board, but he couldn't put it back. Winfrey chugs ahead. Drives inside, and it's a charge. Again.
A lot of charges. Lots of charges. Which is great. If you're a coach, you love to see this.
Oh, yeah. Tim Lavin's fired up. He likes it. William Smith, not so much. And that has really slowed down Richwoods because they like to play in transition. They like to penetrate off the dribble, and that's one thing that Coach Lavin pointed out to us before the game. He said, we need to stop their dribble penetration, and their defense has been effective today.
Certainly has, and they knew that coming in. Like you said, Tim Lavin, good job on the scouting report, and they know that if they can step in and plant themselves, they can take that charge.
Reynolds feeds to Welsh in the post. He loses the basketball. Bodies hit the deck again. And a timeout taken by Centennial.
30-second timeout called by the Centennial bench.
You could see McAboo yelling timeout there, just didn't signal. I think the ref was waiting for him to signal that.
I think he was hesitant to let go of the basketball.
Yeah, wanted to keep the basketball corralled. And Larry, I'll say this, between charges and between diving for loose balls, which have we seen more? Seems about 50-50.
Yeah, no kidding. All sorts of them. So much hustle in this game. Grit, grind, whatever you want to call it. Both teams have had it. So the ball will stay with Centennial out of that timeout. And Labey will trigger it in. He gets it right back, and he's picked up by Winfrey. McAboo looking for the post. finds Parker. Parker to Bryson. The hook shot is short, put back, rattles in.
And like I said, it's just hard to have an answer for that. Even on his misses, he's cleaning up his own board with a second chance effort.
Kickball into the hands of Bryson. He loses it right alongside the baseline. Brown is able to pick it up. Now it's a steal by McAboo. And the Chargers are going to slow it down.
Talk about the defensive effort here for Centennial. Good heads-up awareness.
Bryson in the post, double teamed, no problem.
It was the Jack Young story in the third, and now it's Bryson. Jalen Bryson really showing out.
He's got 8 points now, and it's a steal by McAboo. Lays it off the glass for 2. And all of a sudden, Centennial is up by double figures.
Doing a good job of picking her pocket and swiping it. Man, Centennial really turned it on. We talked about that momentum, and it's all in favor towards the Chargers right now.
Wow, what a turn of events. It's a game of runs, John Camosa, and this run favors Centennial, so a smart timeout by Richwoods coach William Smith. What's the message?
Got to try to get back to your game right now. They've just kind of been out of sorts, turning the ball over a lot more than we've seen even in the second and third quarter. And you never want to get stripped before you even get over half court, leading to easy transition points for Centennial. But then again, outside of just that, Larry, it's really there's no answer for Jalen Bryson right now. As big as he is, you just got to hope to keep him outside of the lane.
Largely the Knights have double teamed him. That's worked in segments. Ike Donnell is back in the game with 4 fouls, something to watch. He's hounded in traffic, gets it away to Brown, and a foul is called. I think that one will be called on Conley D for Centennial.
Really caught a break there. It could have resulted in another layup for Centennial had he not fouled there.
That's D's 4th foul. Foul trouble on both sides, but Donnell will play with 4, as will D. Donnell, the hesitation move into the paint, finds Winfrey. Now to Brown. He pulls up from deep, halfway down and out. Rebound Welsh. He's turned away by Bryson. McAboo in transition to the right block. And a charge called.
Another charge. Man, we've seen a lot of those, and Donnell doing a good job of planting his feet. But this is more charges than I've seen in any high school basketball game this year, and certainly even going into last year.
It's really surprising, honestly. I can't remember a game that I've watched with more charges. We've seen maybe 1 or 2 blocks.
I think Joey and I only saw 1 charge all game last night.
Parker with the steal and score. And now all sorts of traffic and collisions.
Kind of bumped into him.
I think Brown is down. He smacked his head on Parker's head. And with so much contact in this game, we're somewhat lucky that we haven't seen more banged up bodies.
Yeah. Thankfully no injuries, but they've really been getting after it so far.
And it makes for entertaining basketball, and we're glad everybody's all right as we head to our final mask timeout. Thanks for joining us on your Saturday afternoon on ClutchSportsIL.com. It's a good one. Big 12 boys basketball action with Centennial roaring out to a big-time lead here in the fourth quarter, up 51-38. And the separation has not been this wide for most of the game, John. And the first quarter, Chargers charged out to a 10-0 lead. Richwoods came back, took the 1-point lead into halftime. And Centennial was up 43-38 in the third quarter. But Richwoods was right there, and now that's far from the case.
Yeah, you'd see the turnovers really have cost Richwoods here in this fourth quarter, and Centennial jumping them, with that full court pressure, and then right at half court getting strips and converting on the other end. And then, like I said, Jalen Bryson in there. So really got a two-headed monster coming at him right now. Their defensive pressure and their size.
Javon Brewer in the game, passes off to Donnell, working on the full court press, and they break it. Back into the corner, Womer, he's a shooter, doesn't take the 3, trying to shake the defender, finds Winfrey. The runner through the paint, he's fouled, and he gets the bucket to go.
Winfrey makes the basket.
Really nice finish there from Winfrey, he's got that soft touch. He does that so well. A lot of his points come from right by the basket. Chance to complete the three-point play here.
Now Bryson goes to the bench. That's something to keep an eye on. Will Richwoods pound the inside with the 6'9" senior checked out?
I think it definitely opens the door for them to do that a little bit more, but then not to forget you still have Jack Young out there.
Richwoods down by 11. John, when do they start really trying to shoot the three and kind of start playing with a sense of urgency?
I think right here you give it about 1 minute, but you get to that 3-minute mark and you're gonna have to really start giving it their all.
Laby the putback for two. All sorts of problems rebounding, and a heads-up play there by McAboo, who threw it all out off of Brewer. My goodness, Centennial's been so good on the board.
This defensive effort for Centennial is incredible right now. I mean, just that to save that and still have time to throw it off of them. And Larry, they've forced quite a few and definitely put Richwoods in a hole here.
Warren will hold off the inbound. And I'm sure Richwoods' game plan was focused a lot on the boards entering this one. So I think that says a lot about Centennial's gumption on the offensive end when it comes to rebounding. Laby kicks it back out to McAboo, and now it's Parker.
Centennial's got no shot clock. You know, they can definitely play keep away here if they choose, which is looking like what they're doing.
And it's tipped away from Laby. Out in front to Winfrey. He's looking for the foul, doesn't get it, but the ball will stay with Richwoods.
Like you said, attack to the basket's key. Winfrey trying to do that just now. I think we're going to see a lot of that here in these next 3 minutes.
Donnell inbounds to Winfrey. Can't get the touch off the front of the iron. Board into the hands of Young. And now the Chargers slow it down, up by 13. Something's got to give for the Knights. Donnell playing aggressive with 4 fouls. He's got to be careful. Doesn't pick up a foul there. Laby into the post for Young through contact. And he'll go to the line to shoot 2.
And it's gonna cost him right there. It'll be his 5th.
Yeah, that'll be on Donnell, so he heads to the bench. Donnell finishes the game with a 10-point effort.
Young will shoot 2.
I think he knew immediately, too, kind of threw his head down. He's a little dejected.
Who could blame him? It's been a frustrating game for the senior on his senior night. Young misses the first free throw. The game is not over yet, but John, something's got to turn here.
Certainly look to be in Centennial's favor right now.
Young can't get the touch. And Brown comes in for the board, and now a foul's called on Laby.
Fouls charged to McAboo.
They've really,
it's going to be McAboo, excuse me.
No, I said they really jumped him so quick, Larry, before they can even really corral the ball and think Centennial's right there to poke it loose.
Winfrey breaks the press to Brewer. He's going to take it all the way and coast it in off the glass.
That's a start. That's what they needed.
Now you see the full court press from the Knights. McAboo guarded by Brown. Warren jets across half court, and not in time though. 10-second violation. Knights get it back with the chance to cut the lead to single digits.
And if they could do that, Larry, I'd like to say just an ounce of momentum will be back with the Knights. You know, to try to get a bucket here would be big.
Especially a quick one.
Still not out of this game by any means.
2:45 to go. Winfrey weaves his way through the paint, and he's fouled.
I think key right now, and William Smith knows this, to just keep attacking that basket and get to the free throw line.
It's going to be the second foul on Parker. Jamari will shoot 2.
Jamari Winfrey scored 18 points last night in a 1-point loss versus Manual. He knocks down his first free throw. It's been a largely quiet afternoon for him. He's just got 7. Womer checks out. Between shots. Second free throw is nothing but nylon for Winfrey. He's got 8. Full court press again for the Knights. Warren in transition. passes it off and gets it back.
Expect Richwoods to really turn it up on the defensive end here.
Warren goes inside. He had an open lane, John, but lost the basketball, and it'll stay with the Chargers. Warren will inbound, gets it into Young. Going to work on Winfrey. And a turnover.
Looking like Centennial was playing for a quick shot, which is odd, but.
It is odd, considering they're up here by 9. Spin move, off balance shot, doesn't go for Beck. Rebound goes to the Chargers. A football pass ahead to Laby. Hop, skip, and a jump through the paint. The tip doesn't go. And Winfrey's foul.
Another foul, and I think Richwoods doing a good job. Like I said, odd earlier. Centennial, that one, maybe not as ill-advised as the last two, the open break there, but Richwoods doing a good job of hounding them and getting rebounds. And Larry, if they can keep going to the line like this, they can cut it to a close game.
This is the guy you want at the stripe. Winfrey just went 2 for 2 a few moments ago. Here a pin drop as he knocks down the first. The deficit is growing smaller. Goes 2 for 2 again.
2 big free throws for Winfrey, and Richwood's going to come with that full court pressure, try to force another.
It's worked so far. Worth mentioning that McAboo now has 4 fouls. He's still in the game for Centennial, has provided a big spark with 12 points, minute 45 to go.
Larry, when would you start fouling here if you're Richwoods?
Got to be careful. I think you want to stop first, and they get one.
Big stop.
Winfrey weaving through traffic is able to get it off to Marquise Todd. Todd through the lane, layup is short.
Great effort, just came off.
Parker for Centennial, looking like he's about to lose his balance. And now the Chargers are going to slow it down. And now, John, I think you got to think about fouling, and Brewer will burn one.
Sure, they would have liked that layup to go. It's a tough effort, but
that would have made this game a whole different dynamic. Now Centennial still with that 7-point lead in the ball. Young in trouble, but he gets it off to Parker. Now he uses his dribble, big-time collision near half court. Parker took a big blow from Winfrey. And obviously incidental contact, but that'll be Winfrey's 4th foul, but we've seen a lot of that tonight.
Said it's been very physical, and it's going to come down if Richwoods fouls, gets him to the free throw line. You know, you get a missed free throw, that's what you'd hope for. And
Parker, tight defense by Beck. Young finds a wide open Laby, slips through the defense and lays it up and in, and now it's really going to be hard for the Knights to come back.
Where you almost want to start shooting threes.
Todd passes up the open 3 there. Now to the free throw line, now inside, slips, somehow got the shot up. Winfrey with the offensive board, blocked from behind by Laby, and now Beck will foul. And this one is all but over.
Foul's going to be on Beck.
I think it's in Centennial's hands now, and good effort by the Knights to try to come in and close the deficit, but Centennial just kind of controlling the ball here. Chance to really ice it here at the line.
Parker with a chance to get to double figures on his afternoon. He's got 9 points. Beck checks out, or excuse me, Todd checks out, and it's Womer who checks back in. Free throw is down by Parker, and that'll make it tough. Score back up to 10. Really a back and forth basketball game, a physical battle by both teams. Got to commend the effort, but Centennial just commits fewer mistakes when it mattered most. And the second free throw gives them an 11-point lead. Richwoods will need a miracle. Brewer goes right to the bucket, high off the glass, doesn't go. Will Richwoods foul? Doesn't look like they will. As McAboo holds it in the corner. Lomer tries to poke it out. It's in the hands of Young, and that will do it. Champaign Centennial comes up by 74 and picks up a road victory in Peoria over Richwoods, 57-46.
Kind of a tale of two sides there. Richwoods had that momentum there right out of the, or I should say right after, to close halftime. Started off slow, but it seemed like Centennial kind of picked up where they left off after having a really hot first quarter and then closed out the game the exact same way.
They did, John, and from the start, I think you got to credit Centennial's defense, especially on Ike Donnell and Jamari Winfrey. They both scored 10, but it was a struggle for them.
It was a struggle, and then to see, Donnell sit the bench in the third quarter and then eventually fell out in the fourth. And, we talk so much about that size that Centennial has, and they really showed that, not only their defense, but they really asserted their dominance in the post tonight.
John, looking on the winning side of things for Centennial, 12 points for McAboo, 11 points for Amarion Parker, 11 points for Jack Young Jr., and a big fourth quarter for Jalen Bryson. I want to say he got up to 8 or 10 points, but who in your eyes really helped seal the deal for the Chargers?
I think it really started with Jalen Bryson there. He really asserted his dominance and showed his size. I think those 5 or 6 buckets that he had straight really helped pave the way for Centennial. It's like they fed off of his momentum, and then from there on it was just that defense. But I'd say Jalen Bryson, a little mix of DeAndre Warren, and Jack Young was huge to open that game.
He certainly was, and the loss drops Richwoods to 6-4 on the season and improves Champaign Centennial's record to 3-4. They had lost their previous games against Peoria schools, and now they're finally able to pick one up. So that wraps it up from Richwoods High School. For our entire Clutch Sports media team, Joey Wright at the controls, Jonathan Michael on the tripod, Matt Harrington on social media, my partner John Camosa. I am Larry Larson, saying so long, and thank you for joining us for both our games today on Clutch Sports Media. You can watch this game on replay and all of our presentations on demand on our YouTube channel. But until next week, we will talk to you later. Stay safe.